We're here with Blade Tackett of the Northmor Knights. Blade, I think it's always interesting for our audience to hear about a coach's journey. So I know you played at Crawford in high school. Very good player for the Eagles under David Sheldon. But tell us a little about your journey after high school, about what you did and kind of how you got to this point that you're at Northmor right now.
Yeah, first off, I'd say pretty good players. All the teams that he's had, I don't know if I'm really good anymore. Maybe when he first started coaching.
You were pretty good when we went against you. So,
that's actually where the passion started with Coach Sheldon. When I realized I think this coaching it would be pretty fun and fits my personality pretty well. And then, as you know, I got close with Dane Kennedy over there as well, and the way that they would prepare, and I just loved the scouters that they used to make and the DVDs that he used to burn. It's a lot easier for me than I think it was for them. But upon graduation, then I went to Bluffton, much like Coach Sheldon did, played for a couple of years. Played for Coach Neal, who, you know Coach Neal as well.
I know him, but I've heard the story, like if you play for him, is one of the things you're going to learn to do is be organized.
Yeah, be organized and be tough. That definitely came away with both of those things. Even though I didn't finish the 4 years there, but I really used a lot of the things that I learned in those 2.5 years from him as well. And then upon graduating Bluffton, I got hired at Ridgedale, which, interestingly enough, I just told you we walked in, our freshmen are playing Ridgedale tonight, and one of my former players, who I love to death over there, Sam Leach, is coaching the team. One of those, you know how it is early on. There's a couple players that you latch on to, and he was one of those kids that I had him like my third year there, and just loved the kid. Thought he was a great player and a great kid. So it was nice seeing him. I didn't know he was a coach. And then, so 3 years at Ridgedale. Then the varsity assistant job opened up here, and Coach Ruth and I were always pretty close. I don't even really remember how our relationship started, and that was the same year that Coach Armrose got hired here as a football coach. So simultaneously, the varsity assistant opens up here for basketball and for football. And I'm pretty passionate about both sports, so they had a math opening as well, so the stars aligned, and here I am.
And you still coach football?
Don't coach football anymore. So I coached football my first 2 years here. First year, football, basketball, and baseball. I was a JV coach under Coach Workman. Second year, just football and basketball, and then my third year, I just kind of switched over to basketball. I was lucky enough to get the job in my fourth year.
I think every coach, when you kind of get your program, you try to instill the word now I think is culture, but like a philosophy. So if you were to tell people, like if they came and watched a Northmor basketball team play, what would that philosophy be as far as what you would want people to see out of your basketball team?
Yeah, I think our biggest thing is probably. Maybe you can tell on the floor. I don't know. I guess you guys would be the judge of that. But I think our biggest philosophy is preparation. And I learned that really from every coach that I was under. It obviously started with Coach Sheldon and Kennedy and Capel. And then it was the same at Bluffton. We actually did handwritten scouting reports there, which was pretty neat. We'd have to come in, find our own time, handwrite down everything, and keep it in a binder. And then Coach Otterbacher was the same way at Ridgedale. He does very good in-depth scouting reports. I think he does it at Calvert still to this day. And so that was one of the big staples is, we want our kids to be prepared. And, there's a fine line with that because you also, we need to be able to execute our stuff.
Yep.
It's important for us to be prepared. So that would be number one, is to be prepared about, with our opponent, so we know what we're getting into. And then number two, I think our biggest thing is just, my biggest thing is I like our guys to have a personality.
Yep.
And whatever that entails, I always tell our guys it's a very broad term, but I want you to have a personality. I want you to smile. I want you to talk. I want you to give effort. People can look at kids on the floor and know, it's that old, I don't know what Coach said it, maybe you do, but it's that old adage that, you have a type of body language, and then you have a type of speaking language. And I want them to be on the same page. We can get into the X's and O's. We like to execute and run sets. We like to play, most of the time, good man defense with a really good zone to jump into to keep people off guard. So, those are our offensive philosophies. That's kind of the nitty-gritty. But the big stuff is like, I want our kids to be prepared, and I want to have a personality on the floor. And even if that's not a voice, you should still, if you're an introverted kid, be able to show with your body language that you still have the energy, the communication and the stuff to match, the guys around. We can all fit together like that. So it's a weird philosophy to have, but that's what I want to.
I don't think it's a weird philosophy at all. I mean, I think it is important. I mean, one of the things that I think that's, we talked a little bit about before practice, going to watch people scout in person, and sometimes, you look at the demeanor of a player, and to be honest with you, I mean, there's some kids you go, if we bump him hard, we're going to get into his head a little bit, and that's part of it. Over my many years of coaching, I had a lot of influences. I mean, like I think you mentioned playing. I mean, I played for a guy, Ron Stevens. He was a great influence, and then, I went to Ohio Northern and Gail Doherty and Joe Campoli. But then, as I got out of coaching, got out of college, I mean, you kind of started following guys like, Bob Knight was big when I played, and there's a guy named Don Meyer that he had a collection of like 28 videotapes. I think I got them all and watched them. Are there any coaches like that you kind of looked at in your career, besides maybe a guy, Neil, like that have influenced you as far as coaching? Yeah, sure. When I was in college, I was obsessed with John Beilein and the Wolverines. I'll never forget that Final Four run they made. I think it was my junior year, maybe 2000. I guess it would have been 2012. Mitch McGarry, for whatever reason, not a great regular season player, but just was amazing in that postseason. And Trey Burke hit that shot against Kansas. And I watched it right in my dorm room, and I just always gravitated to him. And I was a Michigan fan of Swords, but was more of a Michigan football fan in passion. Sorry to all the people I just offended out there. We won't hold that against you. Yeah, we might have to cut that out of the interview. Yeah, I hope you actually maybe you should cut that out. But no, it was actually the basketball side of it that I was more passionate about because of the things that he did, and I love how he was able to run with like a high post Princeton style offense. Always had great sets, and just from looking at like their, listening to their players and then hearing him talk. I feel like that was a lot of the things I aligned with too. Is I always thought his players were prepared, and I always thought they executed sets on defense, did a couple different things defensively, but he always talked about the personality thing, and that's kind of where I got that from. I mean, you've been coaching for a while. Favorite part of coaching? I think I hope my players would know this answer, maybe the community too. But it's just like when I saw Sam out there and we picked up a conversation like. I haven't seen him. Well, I guess I saw him at baseball last year. He was coaching baseball, but it's the relationships with the kids, and I think it's always going to be that. I pride myself on that and building good, strong relationships with them, so that when they come back, I can give them a high five, and we can have a conversation about how life's going and what he's been up to, and he's become a coach, and I'm super proud about that, and and this is. I've been close with a lot of seniors, like the seniors that we've had, Max last year, and Grayson, Logan Mariotti, and a couple kids before, Andrew Armours before that. But this group of kids we had as freshmen. They were freshmen my first year as head coach, and now they're seniors, and I just feel a connection I've never felt with these guys that I take a lot of pride in, and I don't want to speed up their lives, but I'm excited to see what they do as young men because I think they're going to be pretty successful. Flip the coin. Is there a least favorite part of coaching? There's a least favorite part. It's a grind. There's just a lot of hours that people don't see, and I would tell you that as an assistant, like you kind of see those things, but you never really know until you're a head coach what it's actually like. The emails that you get that people don't see, or the phone calls you get that people don't see, all the stuff you're working with in the background to just try to make your program as a whole successful, not just the basketball part that most people see. And youth basketball yesterday, where we're here from, there's games at 1, 2, and 3, but I'm walking in at 9:30, and I got a 2 and a 4-year-old at home with my wife. They get to enjoy a Sunday off, but the youth program is important. We get here and we set up and we run all these games, and then we got to clean up. And next thing you know, it's a Sunday, and I'm here from 9 to 5. And we got freshman game tonight. We're going to scout tonight, and so it's all just a grind, and it's all like it's everything that I love and everything that I hoped it to be. But as well as anyone that sometimes that stuff just wears on you, all that extra stuff. The only thing I can tell you is that it makes winter go fast. Yeah.
That is true. I can't believe it's almost February.
And sometimes, as I retired for 3 years, if I wasn't doing something like this, I don't know, I might go stir crazy a little bit.
I believe that.
But the last couple questions I have, you're in the second half of the season now. Maybe talk a little bit about how you change, if you change, or how you change practices. Excuse me. Here in the second half of the year as you approach this stretch run of the season. Yeah,
it's vastly different than beginning of the season for us, and it's been like kind of a fluid. It's been fluid throughout the year because football made a very deep run, so that really impacted the beginning of our practice, where we have over half of or almost half of our players were football players on that team. And so beginning of the year, when we only have a select group of guys, you're really focused on fundamentals and shooting and building, and you're still trying to put in a couple of the things that you're going to run during the season, right? We scrimmaged Bucyrus early on with 6 guys, so we still try to get them some playing time, the guys that we had. Then you get the full team back, and, we try to go a little bit longer, and I always know that transition is hard from football. I did the same thing where it's like you have a certain routine. Well, now you got to come to basketball. We got to run 2.5 to 3 hour practice. We got to get you in shape. We got to start banging on you again. We got to still lift, all this stuff. So long practices, still working on the skill sets, but putting in the stuff that we did. And I will tell you, with this senior group, while those practices were long a couple years ago, they're not even that long anymore because they know everything that we do, and they know how we want to run practices. And there's only very few times with this group that I've walked out and said, man, we just did not have a good practice today. And so I've been blessed on that front. That comes with a good senior and junior class. But as we get to tournament time here, we really shorten practices. We ran at 3:30 today. We did scouting report and film. We're on the floor at 4. We do some half-court fundamentals, some full-court shooting, some half-court shooting. We run a couple situations, and there's an hour and 15 minutes. And I think while it went fast, I thought it was a good hour and 15 minutes. I thought it was a good day of practice, and I think we're ready for tomorrow. And, we'll take a day off, too, if we ever get a chance. Now, we have 2 games this week. We're not going to be able to do that. But, if we get into February and we're only playing 1 game a week, I think it's good for our guys to just kind of get away and get refreshed and get some rest and just get away from the gym for it. I think that's valuable, too. So we'll do that.
Final question, you kind of already alluded to it, but this team, what do you really like about this basketball team? You already kind of mentioned that, but
that goes.
Elaborate.
Yeah, it goes back to just what we kind of hang our hat on, and this group is just real. Not only do they love basketball, but I think they enjoy being here. And maybe I just can't read that really well, but all of the kids have great personalities on the floor and off the floor. I think they enjoy each other's company. That's probably my favorite. Is we've had groups that are close, but I think you could look back probably and know this group is just something different. They're together all the time. Like, they're always talking about, it's like, I'm like, guys, it's a school night. You're going to go hang out with each other tonight? And they're always together off of the floor. And I think that translates onto the floor.
Oh, it definitely does.
I could go over all the basketball stuff. They're great basketball players. But, I think the thing I like the most is the kind of people that they're off the floor.
Well, having the opportunity to watch you practice, you could see that in practice today. And then having the opportunity, after a couple of games that we've covered, to interview a couple of your kids, you can really just tell just how respectful they are. And I think that's a reflection of, it's a reflection, number one, of their upbringing, but it's also a reflection of the basketball program. So you got it going, and we at the OH Report are going to wish you the best of luck as you go down the stretch run of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So thanks
Coach.
a lot.
Thanks for coming.